My name is Alana, and I have always been forgotten in my family. Maybe it's because I was born on December 24th, just the day before Christmas. Or maybe it's because I'm the youngest and my sister Kimberly is 12 years older than me. Whatever the reason, my birthday has never been my day. Sometimes I even wonder if anyone in my family remembers that December 24th is not just Christmas Eve. I'm about to turn 18. I'm sitting in my room, absently flipping through my history textbook, trying to focus on my final year of school homework. But my thoughts keep returning to the past years. To birthdays that didn't belong to me. They flowed smoothly into the Christmas holidays, disappearing into the general chaos of decorations, guests, the smells of cinnamon and ginger biscuits. The phone on the bedside table freezes again, making an annoying sound. I take a quick look at him and sigh heavily. I've been asking my parents to buy me a new one for months now, but they don't seem to hear. Or they pretend they don't hear. For some reason, when Kimberly needs something, she gets it without question. I remember her last gift, a new tablet, because she needs it for work. Apparently, I don't need anything. Kimberly has been married for a long time. She has 3 children, and their birth has changed not only her life, but also mine. Since the arrival of my first nephew, my birthdays have become a mandatory duty. Now it's an unspoken family rule. Alana, honey, won't you look after the kids upstairs? They always say that, without even asking if I want to. They just assume that I agree. It's like I'm a free babysitter attached to the Christmas decorations. That's not even the worst part. The worst part is that no one notices how much it hurts me. Like every time I go upstairs with another couple of kids in my arms, I feel like I've just been cut out of the party. Last year's gift became for me a symbol of this indifference. Scarf. With the sale price tag sticking out. I saw Mom trying to pull it off, thinking I wasn't looking. The year before last, I bought a set of ordinary pencils, not even the art supplies I dreamed of. It seems to me that they just take the first object they see, wrap it in paper and call it a gift. I look around my desk, which is littered with college brochures. The escape. Dreams of a better future, of a new life in which I am no longer a shadow in my own family. Where I can build my traditions, celebrate the way I want. This year I will take the first step. 18 is my age of freedom. Becca, my best friend, has been telling me for months that it's time to stand up for myself. And I finally agreed. This year, everything will be different. I won't let Christmas steal my day again. At lunchtime at school, Becca burst into the cafeteria, barely catching her breath. Her eyes were shining, and her cheeks were flushed from running in the December cold. My birthday was 2 weeks away, and I immediately realized that she had news. Did your parents finally let you dye your hair blue? I joked, picking at my stale sandwich. Becca grinned and dropped into the chair opposite, leaning conspiratorially towards me. Even better, she said, her voice trembling with excitement. They're leaving town for Christmas, and they said we could use the house for your birthday. They trust us completely, Becca said so excitedly that her voice rang. They said they knew we wouldn't do anything crazy. Can you believe it? I almost choked on my juice. The world froze for a moment, thoughts jumping in my head like frightened sparrows. Are you serious? The words came out on their own. But I've never. I stammered, biting my lip. The idea of a real birthday party seemed incredible. Almost unreal, like a mirage that appears on the horizon but disappears as soon as you get closer. It happens to other people, but not to me. Becca nodded, as if she could read my mind. You've never had a real party. Because you've always been stuck with the kids' squad. But that's enough. You're turning 18, Alana. It's time to really celebrate. No children. No Christmas carols. Just you and your friends. Fun. Whatever you want. I felt my cheeks start to burn. The very idea of a holiday that would belong only to me seemed almost blasphemous. I do not know, Becca, my parents. I looked down, twirling a plastic fork in my hands. The idea of telling them that I wanted to do something for myself seemed almost impossible. They probably won't even remember that it's my birthday. They don't even remember that it's your day, half the time, Becca finished for me. Her voice was soft but firm. Confident. I nodded, knowing she was right. I know you hinted that you wanted a new phone, she continued. The one you have now is barely working. I saw you trying to send a message in class yesterday. 5 minutes to write one sentence. I took my old smartphone out of my pocket, which at that moment, as if on purpose, froze again. The screen blinked, and all was silence. Dead, just like my hopes. Yes, I whispered. I can barely make phone calls. I've been asking them for a new one for months now, but... I shrugged, getting used to disappointment. They always act like I'm asking for something unthinkable. Necessity for me is a luxury for them. There was silence in the dining room. Only the hum of conversations and the clink of dishes filled the space. But Becca broke the silence with her determination. We're having a party, her voice was determined. Your first real birthday. And don't worry about your parents. We'll figure out the perfect way. I've already talked to some friends, and they're totally in favor. She reached across the table and grabbed my hands, squeezing them tightly, as if she were transmitting strength through touch. Her eyes shone with confidence, as if she had already seen what this day would look like. I was silent, but a spark flared up inside me. Maybe it was stupid. Maybe it's hopeless. But it was a hope. I imagined myself surrounded by friends, where every voice, every laugh belongs not only to Christmas, but also to me. Where not only others will have a holiday, but also me. Where I'm not invisible with a bunch of kids, but a girl who's finally been given the opportunity to feel that her birthday is also a holiday. Okay, I finally whispered, and a smile, unexpected and real, spread across my face. Let's do this. Becca squealed and hugged me across the table, nearly knocking over both of our lunches. A few students at nearby tables turned around in surprise, but I didn't care. I felt the invisible wall that separated me from life disappearing. Trust me, Alana, Becca beamed. It's going to be the best birthday of your life. And who knows? Maybe he'll even help your family finally see you as more than just a family babysitter. December 24th came with its usual mix of excitement and horror. I stood at the window of my room, watching the cars pull up to our house one by one. First, Aunt Sarah arrived with 4 children. Then Uncle Mike's family, his wife, and 3 children. Finally, Kimberly's minivan, packed with her 3 toddlers, pulled up to the curb. I could hear the usual chaos growing below. Laughter, slamming doors, ringing keys. Mom's clear voice rang out on the stairs. Alana. Help with the decorations. I went downstairs, already knowing what I would see. Christmas wreaths and garlands, red ribbons, candles, the scent of pine needles. Not a single banner with the inscription, Happy Birthday, not a single sign that today, besides Christmas, there is another event. The living room resembled Santa's workshop, which exploded right in our house. Tinsel and holly covered every surface. Mom was scurrying around the room, showing Dad where to hang another garland. That's it, she said as she ran. Her gaze swept over me as if I were furniture. Help Kimberly bring gifts for the children. Kimberly squeezed through the door with difficulty, laden with an armful of presents wrapped in festive Christmas paper, sparkling with sequins. Ribbons and bows hung from the boxes, and it seemed that everything in this house screamed about Christmas, except for me. Oh, okay, Alana, she said, dropping the bags against the wall. Would you mind looking after the kids while we get set up here? Mickey is getting carried away with everything today, and the twins are especially excited. Make sure they don't destroy the house. That's all." She left without even looking at me. There was no request in her words, just the usual assumption that I, as always, agreed. The next 2 hours turned into a monotonous whirlwind. I helped hang decorations, cooked food, watched the children, who ran screaming around the house, turning every room into chaos. I laughed when I needed to laugh, said the right words, but inside I was just counting down the time, checking my phone, which hung up over and over again, as if reflecting my own doom. No one mentioned my birthday. Nobody. Not a single glance, not a single happy holidays, not even a hint. I sat among the garlands and tinsel, listening to the adults discussing who brought what dishes, who was going where for Christmas. And I sat and thought about how soon I would be able to escape to Becca. Finally, Mom gathered everyone to exchange gifts. The room was filled with the hum of voices, the excited laughter of children eagerly sorting through wrapping paper. I sank to the floor, trying not to feel the sharp pain in my chest. Dad came up to me, handing me a poorly wrapped package. "Here you go, honey," he said, not even looking into her eyes. "Merry Christmas." Not happy birthday. Not congratulations. It's just Christmas. It's like nothing else exists. I slowly unwrapped the paper, already knowing what was inside. And, of course, it wasn't the phone I asked for. It was a sweater. Beige, shapeless, the kind my grandmother might have chosen. It's not even stylish, it's just kind of dull, alien. Isn't it great? Mom smiled, but her eyes were tired and distracted. "I saw him and I thought of you." "About me? The part of me that no one notices?" "Yes, thank you," I replied, trying to keep my voice level. "Thank you for reminding me once again how little my birthday means to you." "Mom, Dad," I tried, even though I knew how it would end. "You know I need a new phone." But, as always, my words were drowned out. "Oh, Alana, she's always asking for expensive things," Kimberly said with a grin, bouncing her youngest on her lap. "Be grateful for what you have. By the way, could you take the kids upstairs? Adults need to cook dinner." I looked around the room. Adults. All of them. And me, who is technically already an adult, but it seems that I am still at the nanny level. Something inside me snapped, a thin thread that had been stretched too long. But I didn't say anything. Because I knew that another evening was waiting for me, another holiday. "I have to go to the store," I said, getting up. "I think we're out of punch fruit." Mom sighed heavily, as if my desire to go beyond the kitchen was something incredible. "Alana, you always forget about important things," she said. "Hurry up before the shops close." I nodded, but didn't answer. I went upstairs, where I had hidden my outfit under the bed for a long time. A black skin-tight dress that I bought at a thrift store, and shoes that I carefully guarded. I quickly changed my clothes, grabbed a pre-packed bag, and my heart was pounding. When I came back downstairs, no one even looked at me. No one noticed what I was wearing. No one asked why I had a bag. They were too busy with their Christmas preparations. And so I left. Quietly, without words. No one stopped me. No one even looked up. Becky's house was like a step into another world. When I entered, I was greeted by lights of garlands, colorful balloons, and a banner with the inscription, "Happy 18th birthday, Alana." Not someone's, not everyone's. Mine. My legs gave out, and I almost cried right there. But Becca had already rushed to me, hugging me as tightly as she could. "We were already worried that you wouldn't come." "What is it?" she exclaimed. I looked around. There were about 15 people there. They're all my friends. No one from the family, no children, No hint of Christmas. Just the music, the joy, and the feeling that I finally have the right to be here. We've got everything turned on, my friend Mike said, handing me an envelope. Becca told us about your phone. My hands were shaking when I opened it. There was money inside. Enough to buy a decent smartphone. Not the latest, but good enough to make it work. So that I can call, write, be in touch. I tried to say something, but the words stuck. You guys, was all she could exhale. Group hug. Someone shouted, and suddenly I was surrounded. People who really came to celebrate my day. Not Christmas, not someone's success. Me. We were eating cake. A real chocolate one with the inscription, Happy Birthday, Alana. We played games, laughed, listened to music. No one talked about Christmas. No one assigned me to take care of other people's children. And for the first time in my life, I felt like this was really my day. That I'm not a shadow in my family. That I am. It's been a few hours, and I almost forgot about my phone. I laughed, chatted, and enjoyed the music, which for the first time in a long time sounded just for me. But suddenly, the phone in my bag buzzed, the vibration cutting through the noise of the party, like a reminder of the world I'd escaped from. You should probably check it out, Becca said softly, sensing the change in my mood. I hesitantly took out my old phone, and my heart sank. The screen glowed with a list of missed calls and messages. 37 calls. Hundreds of messages. Most of them are from Mom and Kimberly. Where are you? The shops closed a few hours ago. Alana, this is not funny. The kids are asking about you. Mom and Dad are terribly worried. Answer the phone. How could you be so irresponsible? Who should look after the children? Each new message was like an electric shock. But the last one made me stop. Alana, please let us know that you're safe. This was the first message that sounded at least some concern for me, and not for the children, not about the chaos that I supposedly left behind. I took a deep breath, pressing the cold plastic of the phone to my ear, and dialed my home number. Alana, where are you? Mom's voice rose, shrill and sharp. It was distorted by the crackling of an old speaker, but the alarm in it was obvious. Hi, Mom, I paused before asking a simple but important question. Quick question. What day is it today? There was silence on the other end of the line. What? Well, Christmas Eve, of course. You've ruined everyone's evening. It was the first time your sister had to take care of her children, and... Mom, I interrupted her, my voice calm, even surprisingly even. Today is also my birthday. I'm 18. Do you remember that? Silence. Deafening, painful. I could almost hear the gears turning in her head as she remembered, trying to find the words. Oh, Alana, yes. But there was no confidence in her voice, only awkwardness. I'm at Becky's house, I said, feeling my heart tremble. Celebrating my birthday. For the first time. You know, my friends raised money to help me buy a new phone. The one I asked for. Instead of that sweater from the sale that you gave me. Silence. And then a quiet, guilty voice. We made a gift, didn't we? I didn't think. We didn't think. That's right, Mom. You never think. The words were hard for me, but I knew they were true. I'm not coming home today, I said before she could answer. I'm going to celebrate my birthday with people who really remember it. I pressed the end of call button and something seemed to burst in my chest, but at the same time, relief. Turning around, I met the eyes of my friends. Becca was the closest, anxiety and pride mixed on her face. Are you okay? What is it? She asked, gently squeezing my hand. I looked around slowly. I saw a banner with my name on it, balloons, and a cake on the table. The faces of the people who came to be with me, not just to fill the space. An envelope with their generous gift lying on the bedside table. Yes, I nodded, smiling. I know who I am. For the first time in a long time. The next 2 days at Becky's house were like living in another universe. The one where there was no eternal hum of children's voices, where commands were not heard, garlands did not crackle, and there was no smell of Christmas spices. There was only peace. I was there. We ordered pizza, watched movies, lay on the floor, and played silly board games. We talked about everything and nothing. We were teenagers. We were free. I laughed like I'd never laughed before. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel invisible. I didn't feel obligated. But even in this silence, the phone was a reminder of itself. On the second morning, it buzzed again. It's buzzing again, Becca said, pointing at my old device. I didn't want to look at it, but I picked it up. There were new messages inside. But this time they sounded different. Alana, I've been thinking about what you said. I'm sorry. We forgot. Please come back when you're ready. We need to talk. It was Mom. And Kimberly. Kimberly was different. I can't believe you're being so selfish. My children are asking about Aunt Alana. Mom and Dad are actually looking at you. You upset them. I stared at the screen, not knowing how to feel. I showed the messages to Becca while she was making breakfast. What are you going to do when you get home? What is it? She asked, pushing a plate of pancakes towards me. I thought about it, looking at the food, at the light steam rising from the hot dough. I do not know, I said honestly. But I'm not going to be invisible again. Can't. We spent that day like normal teenagers. I bought a simple, reliable phone. No special features, but it worked. I bought ice cream. And we ate it, sitting on the porch, laughing at something stupid. That evening, Becky's parents returned home. Their faces shone with warmth and understanding as they crossed the threshold. They knew about my situation from Becky and, as it turned out, deliberately gave me the opportunity to celebrate. They gave me a chance to feel that my birthday is not just a shadow of Christmas. You're here anytime, Becky's mom said, hugging me. Her voice was soft and sincere, as if in those few words she was trying to give me what I've always lacked, the feeling of being seen and accepted. But then she stepped back, looked at me intently, and in her eyes flashed the very care that I had been looking for so long. But I think your parents are ready to talk for real now. I nodded. Deep down, I knew she was right. The time has come. It's time to go back and face what I've been running from for so long. When I opened the door of my house, I was greeted by cold, tense air. The room seemed to be flooded with shadows. The Christmas decorations were still in place, but the festive spirit seemed to have been blown away, leaving only fatigue and indecision. Mom, Dad, and Kimberly were sitting in a silent semicircle in the living room. They were waiting. Mom immediately got up, her eyes were red, as if she had spent half the day in tears. Alana, her voice cracked. We need to talk. Yes, I replied, dropping my bag by the door. We're really doing this. Dad stepped forward first. Are you okay? What is it? He asked, and there was genuine concern in his voice, so unusual that I felt something tighten inside. I'm fine. I was safe. All this time. I hesitated, but finished. Becky's parents knew where I was. You could tell us where you're going, Kimberly interjected. Her voice cracked into hysteria, and for the first time, I realized how tense she was, too. Do you have any idea what you put us through? I had to deal with all the children myself. It was impossible. Christmas was totally ruined. I almost expected Mom to agree. But instead, she slowly turned to Kimberly, and what she said shocked me to the core. "They're your children, Kimberly." Her voice was firm, calm. It was never Alana's job to look after them every holiday. Kimberly froze, her lips twitching. But she was always watching them. "She gets along well with children," she tried to justify herself, but Dad quietly added, "because she never had a choice. We never gave her a choice." Silence. Oppressive, deafening. I sat down on the couch, feeling strangely calm. "Do you know what it feels like?" I asked. "Watch how everyone celebrates every year. Sitting upstairs, babysitting the kids, receiving last-minute gifts at a sale because no one remembered it was my birthday." I looked at my mom. Her eyes were sparkling, but she didn't look away. "In the last few days," she began, and her voice trembled, "I was thinking about your every birthday, about every Christmas. We just assumed that everything was fine with you. They never asked you what you wanted." I inhaled slowly. "I just wanted to be seen," I whispered. "I wanted at least one day to be dedicated to me." The silence was almost painful until Kimberly's voice broke it. "Well, I think you're being ridiculous," she said abruptly, getting up from the couch and gathering up her purse. "You're acting like a spoiled brat. I can't believe you're all taking her side. She ruined everyone's Christmas, and now you're acting like she's a victim." "Your sister turned 18, Dad said firmly. "She's an adult. And we missed it all. Because they were too busy treating her like a free babysitter." Kimberly looked up, her face flushed. "Good. Stop it," she shouted. "If you think so, don't expect me to bring the children. I obviously can't trust Alana to keep an eye on them. Since you're all against me." "Kimberly," Mom's voice was sharp, cold, and I flinched. "It's not about you." Kimberly froze. There was surprise, almost shock, in her eyes. It was probably the first time that Mom took sides other than her own. The first time she openly supported me. Without saying a word, Kimberly turned around and left. The door slammed loudly behind her. The silence that followed was heavy as lead. I looked down, pulled a new phone out of my bag, and put it on my lap. "It's a gift from my friends," I said, almost in a whisper. They remembered. They remembered my birthday." Mom closed her eyes, and I saw tears running down her cheeks. But this time it was real tears. Not out of fatigue, not out of irritation, but out of regret. "We were terrible parents, weren't we?" "What is it?" she whispered. I shook my head, surprised by my own words. "No. Not terrible. Just distracted. It was easier to do what they always did. It's easier not to notice than to see that it doesn't work anymore." Mom sobbed, covering her mouth with her hand. Dad sat down next to me. His gaze was serious but warm, full of something new, the realization I had been waiting for so long. "We'd like to do more, if you'll let us," he said, and there was hope in his voice. "We want to be there for your school events. We'll help you plan your college admission. And finally, let's celebrate your birthday on your birthday." I felt my throat constrict, and tears came to my eyes. Those were words I never expected to hear. "I'd like that," I confessed, and my voice cracked. But another feeling was already growing inside, burning, demanding to be expressed. "But I need you to understand. I'm not going to be a babysitter for the family again. I really love my nephews. But I need my own life." Mom, who was sitting on the other side, nodded slowly. Her face was tense, but her eyes were full of determination. "We understand," she said, and I believed her. And we will make sure that everyone else understands it too. Even if Kimberly needs time to recover. We were sitting there together. My parents are on both sides of me. And for the first time in my entire life, I felt that they really saw in me not just a convenient babysitter, not a forgotten younger daughter, but Alana. An adult woman who was ready to start her own life. The weeks after Christmas brought changes that I would never have believed in before. It all started with the little things. Mom asked me how my day at school was, and for the first time, she listened to the answer. Dad came to my debate club competition. They both sat with me in the evenings, discussing going to college. It was weird. It's almost awkward, as if I'm wearing a new pair of shoes, still not worn, slightly chafing, but still my own. Alana, your English teacher, called us today, Mom said one evening in January when I returned home. I froze, expecting the worst. The words teacher and bell rarely brought good news. But Mom's face was glowing. She said you're one of the best students in the class. Why didn't you tell us about this? I shrugged, toying with the food on my plate with my fork. You've never asked before. Mom's face fell, but she quickly got over the emotion by smiling. Well, we're asking now, she said softly. Actually, your father and I would like to hear the essay that the teacher was talking about. About family dynamics. I couldn't help but smile. Are you sure? It might get a little close. That's why we want to hear it, Dad interjected, his voice serious. We've already missed too much. We don't want to miss more. I read my essay to them that night. It was about families, and how easy it is to fall into the trap of familiar roles. How these patterns can become a prison. And that liberation is not always a gap, sometimes it's just a space for growth. When I finished, Mom was crying. She had been crying a lot lately, but I knew they weren't tears of pain, but of something more complex and deep. Dad sat in silence, but his eyes were shining, and he nodded as if agreeing with every word. Kimberly was the only dark spot. True to her word, she hadn't brought the kids since Christmas. When I visited my parents, I spoke only through them, as if I were a ghost. Your sister says the kids miss you, my mom told me one day. Her voice was careful, as if every word was coming with difficulty. I miss them too, I confessed. But I don't regret what I did. We don't want you to be sorry, Dad said firmly. Kimberly needs to understand that you're not her babysitter. You're her sister. One morning, in early spring, I went down to the dining room and froze. Mom decorated the room. There were ribbons on the walls, and decorations in the center of the table. What's going on? I asked, stopping at the door frame. I was trying to remember whose birthday I'd forgotten. Mom turned around, her eyes shining. We're having a party, she said, adjusting the congratulations banner. The college acceptance letters are coming soon, aren't they? We want to celebrate. I stared at her. That's not necessary. Not worth. It's worth it, Mom interrupted. We have years of holidays that we owe you. I nodded silently. It was a gesture they used to make for Kimberly. For her victories. For her achievements. Now it's for me. Spring brought not only the first warm days in a blooming garden, but also a letter. With college enrollment. And with it, something unexpected, a message from Kimberly. Can we talk? Just us. Simple and straightforward. No apologies, no explanations. But I felt something more in those few words. Chance. The opportunity to understand each other. We met at a coffee shop in the city center. Kimberly was already sitting by the window when I came in. She looked different. Tired, a little lost, but at the same time more real than ever before. Not the perfect mother or older sister, not the confident woman she always seemed, but just a human being. She was absently stirring her latte, her gaze fixed on the cup, as if she could find the answer to all the questions there. "I thought," she began, her voice low, as if the words were coming to her with difficulty. "It's all because of what Mom said on Christmas Day. That the children are my responsibility." It stung. I was silent, not knowing what to say. Feelings were fighting inside, the desire to hear apologies, but also the fear that they would not be there. "I'm so used to having you around," Kimberly continued without looking up. "It was easy to forget that you had your own life, your own dreams. That you're not just. I'm free. I took advantage of it." "Yes," I said softly. "You really took advantage of it." She looked up sharply, and our eyes met. There was no anger in her gaze, only weariness, regret. "The kids miss you," she said after a pause. "Mickey asked again yesterday why Aunt Allen doesn't come anymore." I felt my heart tighten. "I miss them too," I said. "But I can't be a built-in babysitter there. It's unfair. I want to be their aunt. Just an aunt. Not a guardian." Kimberly nodded slowly, lowering her gaze. "I understand," she said, and there was more to those words than just a simple confession. "And I'm sorry, Alana. I'm sorry I didn't see how much we asked of you. For missing your birthdays, for doing everything for me and my children. I was too preoccupied with myself to notice." It wasn't a perfect apology. Not the words that will dispel all the pain. But it was a start. We spent the next hour talking for real. Talking about everything. About how she felt betrayed when her parents sided with me. About how I felt invisible all these years, as if my opinion, my feelings, had never mattered. We talked about children, about family, and how difficult it is to be the eldest and youngest. By the time we finished our coffee, something had changed between us. Something intangible, but important. We were still sisters with different views, different memories of the past. But maybe we were moving towards something better. Towards understanding. The college enrollment letters did arrive. And Mom wasn't joking about the celebration. It was a real party. Not on Christmas Eve. Not as an afterthought. And the real holiday is just for me. With balloons, with a cake, with my name on the postcards. And when Kimberly came with the kids, she didn't leave them for me to keep an eye on them. She stayed with them, played with them, took care of them. And for the first time, I was just enjoying my day, not thinking about who was hungry in the room, who was bored, who would cry the next moment. "It's going to be different next year," Mom said as we cleaned up after the party together. She was wiping the table, and I was picking up gift wrappers. "Your birthday will be your birthday. Even if it's Christmas Eve. We'll figure out how to make both holidays special." I smiled. There was sincerity in those words. Intention. Now that I'm packing for college, I often think about that night. About how sometimes, in order for things to get better, you need to shake things up. You have to say, enough, even if it's scary. Sometimes such a step does not destroy the relationship, but strengthens it. Sometimes it's a way to show that love is not about silence and patience, but honesty. My phone, the one my friends bought for me, rang. A message from Kimberly. "Do you want to come over this weekend? Just to talk to the kids. Unattended. Just family time." I looked at the screen, and a slight smile touched my lips. I looked around my room. There were college acceptance letters and debate cups on the walls. I remembered how Mom and Dad came to my performances, how they listened attentively and asked questions. I remembered how the family photos on the wall had become different, no longer with a changing shadow in the background, but with the real me, who was now looking out from the center of the pictures. Everything was different now. But maybe that's how it should have been. My next birthday is still a few months away, but Mom is already talking about plans. Real plans that exist separately from Christmas. Dad keeps asking me what kind of cake I want. And Kimberly even mentioned that she was coming with the kids to a special breakfast in honor of my birthday, before the usual Christmas chaos began. I do not know if everything will remain like this forever. Families are difficult. Old habits don't change overnight. And maybe some moments will come back. But I know one thing. I'm not invisible anymore. And it's more expensive than all the Christmas gifts in the world. Write a comment on what you think about this story and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like it. See you soon.